The golf world may be heading toward another major confrontation inside the PGA Tour, and this time the spotlight is firmly on Rory McIlroy and Brian Rolapp. What began as a disagreement over the future direction of professional golf is now attracting intense attention because McIlroy's position carries enormous weight inside the player community. With the PGA Tour preparing for significant structural changes, questions are growing about how far players are willing to challenge the organization and whether the relationship between its biggest stars and its leadership could become even more complicated. Brian Rolapp, who has taken over as PGA Tour CEO, is pushing a new vision for the tour, including a two-tier system featuring a championship series and a challenger series beginning in 2028. But Rory McIlroy has already made it clear that he has serious questions about what those changes could mean for the players and the sport itself. That is where this story becomes particularly interesting. There is a huge difference between a player privately expressing concerns and a player deciding to challenge the leadership of an organization publicly or through formal channels. At this point, there is no reliable public evidence confirming that McIlroy's legal team has launched a lawsuit against Rolapp, or that lawyers have formally accused the PGA Tour CEO of wrongdoing. However, the idea that legal advisors could become involved in a dispute over player rights, tour policies, contracts, governance, or competitive structures is exactly the kind of possibility that would send shockwaves through professional golf. And because McIlroy is one of the most influential figures in the sport, even the perception of a serious disagreement can create enormous pressure. Rory McIlroy is not just another player questioning a schedule change. He is one of the most recognizable golfers in the world, a multiple major champion, a former world number one, and one of the central figures in the PGA Tour's battle for relevance during the LIV Golf era. His voice has repeatedly carried beyond the fairways because he has been deeply involved in the broader conversation about the future of professional golf. That makes his reaction to Brian Rolapp's plans particularly important. When McIlroy questions the direction of the tour, other players, sponsors, broadcasters, and fans naturally pay attention. The biggest point of tension is the PGA Tour's proposed future competition structure. Rolapp has been working toward a system that would divide the tour into a championship series and a challenger series. The concept is designed to create a clearer competitive pathway and introduce promotion and relegation elements into professional golf. Rolapp has described the approach as a way to create greater meritocracy and give younger players a path to rise through the system. The plan is expected to begin in 2028, making it one of the most consequential changes to the tour in years. But McIlroy has not appeared completely convinced by the concept. Reporting earlier this year revealed that he spoke with Rolapp directly for approximately an hour about what was being considered. That detail matters because it shows that the disagreement is not simply happening through media headlines. The two men have actually discussed the future of the tour directly. McIlroy has also questioned elements of the proposed structure publicly, including concerns about whether the Challenger Series could effectively become little more than another developmental level rather than a true part of the elite professional game. And then there is the bigger issue hanging over everything. What exactly do the players want from the PGA Tour in the next decade? This question has become increasingly complicated since the emergence of LIV Golf. The PGA Tour is no longer operating in the same environment it occupied before the split in professional golf. Players have different financial interests, different schedules, different competitive priorities, and different opinions about how the sport should be organized. The tour therefore has to satisfy elite stars, while also creating opportunities for younger players and maintaining a commercially attractive product. That balancing act is extremely difficult. If the PGA Tour focuses too heavily on its biggest stars, younger players can struggle to break through. If it focuses too heavily on promotion, relegation, access, and competitive pathways, established stars may feel that their value is being underestimated. And if the tour attempts to control player schedules too aggressively, stars like McIlroy may simply choose to participate less often. In fact, McIlroy has already indicated that he intends to pick and choose his schedule, even if the tour moves ahead with the new two-track system. This is why any serious legal or contractual dispute would be so explosive. Professional golf is built around complicated relationships between players, tournaments, sponsors, broadcasters, governing bodies, and the tour itself. A disagreement over a simple tournament schedule can quickly become a much larger argument about player obligations and commercial rights. If lawyers ever entered the conversation formally, the questions would go far beyond one player or one executive. They could involve how much control the tour should have over its stars, how player interests are represented, and what obligations exist between the PGA Tour and its most valuable athletes. The sport is being redesigned, the competitive landscape is changing, and the stars who built the tour's modern popularity want a meaningful voice in what comes next. Brian Rolapp has made it clear that he wants to build a stronger PGA Tour and move forward with a new competitive structure. Rory McIlroy has made it equally clear that he will not simply accept every change without questioning it. That does not guarantee a lawsuit, a player revolt, or an organizational crisis. But it does guarantee that the debate over the future of professional golf will remain intense. And if the disagreement grows from public criticism into formal negotiations involving player representatives or legal advisors, the consequences could reach far beyond McIlroy and Rolapp. Other stars could be forced to decide where they stand. Tournament organizers could become involved. Sponsors and broadcasters could start asking difficult questions. And the PGA Tour would face perhaps its biggest leadership test since the sport was shaken by the arrival of LIV Golf. For now, the smartest conclusion is to separate confirmed facts from speculation. McIlroy has questioned major elements of the PGA Tour's future plans. He has spoken directly with Rolapp. He has expressed a desire to control his own schedule. Rolapp is pushing ahead with a new two-tier competitive structure and has publicly rejected the idea of a LIV merger. Those facts alone are enough to show that professional golf is entering another fascinating period of change. The next question is whether the disagreement becomes a constructive debate or something much more explosive. Will McIlroy and Rolapp find common ground? Will other players join McIlroy's concerns? Will the proposed 2028 structure be adjusted before it becomes reality? And most importantly, will the PGA Tour succeed in creating a system that satisfies both its biggest stars and the next generation of players? Those answers are still coming. But one thing is already clear. The future of the PGA Tour is no longer simply an administrative discussion happening behind closed doors. It has become one of the biggest stories in professional golf, and with Rory McIlroy challenging the direction of the sport, while Brian Rolapp pushes forward with his vision, the next chapter could be even more dramatic than the last.